I didn't marry for money. Let's start there. Because that's the first thing people assume when they find out my husband, David, is older than me by 12 years and came with a teenage daughter and a bitter ex-wife who acts like she still owns him. When I met David, I had my own apartment, my own career, my own savings. I wasn't looking for a provider. I was looking for a partner. And despite the baggage, I thought I found one in him. We met at a charity auction. He was charming in a quiet way, thoughtful. Worn down by life, maybe, but still kind. And I was ready to believe I could build a new life with someone who needed love as much as I did. Then I met Lily, and then I met her mother. And the fantasy I thought I had bought into crumbled so fast I didn't even have time to blink. Lily was 13 when David and I got married. And to be honest, I knew it wouldn't be easy. What I didn't expect was to walk into a battlefield where I was already the villain in a story I didn't write. The first thing I noticed was the photos. Everywhere. Of Lily and her mom, of family vacations, of birthday parties. I didn't mind, until I realized not a single one had David in it. It was like I'd married a man still trapped in someone else's past. Lily made it clear that I was an outsider. From the beginning, it was my mom used to do it this way or my mom wouldn't wear that or the lovely. My mom actually had a real job. Funny. I had a real job too. Paid for half the house. Paid most of the groceries. Paid the school trips. Paid for her clothes when her mom forgot to. Still, I stayed quiet. I figured kids lash out. Divorce is messy. Maybe I'd grow on her. I never did. Let me tell you something about David's ex-wife, Melinda. She's the kind of woman who walks into a room and makes everyone feel like they owe her something. Lily got that from her. From day one, Melinda made it her mission to remind me that she was the real Mrs. Collingwood. As if the divorce was just a technical error and I was a phase David would grow out of, she'd show up at the door uninvited, arms crossed, sneering at my shoes, my curtains, my cooking. She never used to eat that processed garbage when she lived with me, she once said, eyeing the chicken I made for Lily's dinner. But I guess she has to get used to your standards now. I was too stunned to speak. David just muttered, "Melinda, don't," and that was it. Every time she tore me down, he offered silence like it was a defense, and Lily saw it, and Lily learned from it. I tried, I went to Lily's basketball games. I helped her study. I spent hours driving her to practice. Waiting in the car in freezing weather, only to be ignored the entire ride home. I bought her birthday presents with thought. Books I knew she loved. Headphones she said she wanted. Clothes she showed me online. And still, nothing, just that ever-present my mom would have done better. Sometimes she'd even say it to my face. Sometimes to David. And he'd never correct her. Never once said, "Don't talk to Sammy like that." Every time I mentioned how it made me feel, he'd say, "She's just going through a phase." And every time, I'd swallow it, because I wasn't just fighting for a place in her life, I was trying to earn a place in my own marriage. I knew Lily wanted to go to college out of state. A great school. Expensive. David didn't have the money for it. Melinda definitely didn't. But I could have made it work. I started setting money aside 2 years ago. I didn't tell anyone. Not David. Not Lily. I wanted to surprise her. I wanted her to know that despite everything, I still believed in her. Still wanted to see her succeed, even if she didn't love me. I loved the idea of being part of her future. That money meant I didn't take vacations. I skipped bonuses I earned. I passed on a renovation I'd dreamed of, but it was worth it, or so I thought. It was supposed to be a celebration, 17 years old. One more year before adulthood. One more year before college. I had gone above and beyond to make sure Lily felt loved that day, even though I knew she probably wouldn't appreciate it. I booked her favorite bakery a week in advance. Ordered a custom cake with edible designs of her favorite anime. Decorated the house myself, balloons, a banner, lights. I even rearranged my work meetings just to pick up her friends from different parts of town. No thank you, of course. Just a flurry of eye rolls and complaints about how I didn't get the exact version of the strawberry lemonade she liked. Still, I smiled through it. Because maybe, just maybe, she'd look back and see the effort one day. That hope shattered into dust the moment I heard her voice cut through the music from across the living room. She's just a gold digger. My dad's not even rich, so joke's on her. Laughter. Nervous. Some uncomfortable. I froze. Standing at the hallway entrance, holding a tray of drinks. For a second, I thought maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe I was being too sensitive, but then her friend said, "Isn't she paying for your college though?" And Lily laughed. She thinks she is. As if I'd let her take credit for my future. It wasn't even what she said. It was how she said it, dismissive, venomous, like I was some parasite who had the audacity to think I belonged in her life. My hands trembled so hard. I nearly dropped the tray, but what crushed me more was David's face. He was there. A few feet away. He heard it, he looked up, saw me, saw my pain, and turned away, did nothing, didn't defend me. Didn't scold her. Didn't say a damn word, I didn't confront her. Didn't start a scene. I walked upstairs, still in my party clothes, shut the door to our bedroom, and sat on the edge of the bed. The makeup I'd spent an hour applying started to melt from my tears. My hands clenched the fabric of my dress, the one I bought just for her party. Now feeling like a costume I never should have worn, my chest ached, not from the insult, but from the humiliation of wanting so badly to be accepted by someone who never planned to accept me. That night, I opened the locked filing drawer in my closet. I pulled out the folder labeled Lily's College Fund. Inside was the account information for the savings I'd quietly built over the last 2 years. I'd stashed money into it bit by bit, holiday bonuses, freelance projects, birthday gifts from my parents, all for a future I wanted to give her. A gesture of good faith. Of love. Of belief in her. $38,417.23, that was the balance. I stared at the screen for a long time. My mouse hovered over the transfer button. And then I did it. I clicked, I moved every cent back into my personal savings, closed the account, ripped the folder in half, and whispered to myself, through shaky breaths, "That's enough." The next morning, the house was quiet. No one brought up the party. No one apologized. Not Lily. Not David. No acknowledgement. As if nothing happened, it was the kind of silence that felt like a slap. I made coffee. Sat at the table. Watched them walk past me like I was furniture. I asked, carefully, "Do you have something you want to say to me, Lily?" She didn't even look up from her phone. About what? About what you said last night. Oh. She glanced at me. You mean the gold digger thing? My heart thudded, she shrugged. If the shoe fits. That's when I realized something deep. She wasn't sorry. Not a little. Not at all. And worse, she meant it. I looked to David. Waiting. Hoping he'd say something, he looked at me, then said, flatly, "Maybe it came out wrong." No. No, David. She didn't stumble on her words. She meant to humiliate me. I stood up, I didn't shout. I didn't cry. My voice was steady, but firm. "You'll need to figure out another way to pay for college," I said. Because I'm done. Lily's face changed. The fake boredom cracked. David blinked. Sammy, wait, I've waited. I've cooked. I've cleaned. I've supported. I've put up with being insulted in my own home. I've begged to be seen, defended, appreciated. I've saved money for a child who never wanted me in her life. And then I looked right at Lily. You can compare me to your mother all you want. But she didn't put away a cent for your education. I did. Her mouth opened. Closed. For once, she was speechless. Good. I walked out of the room and into our bedroom. I grabbed a duffel bag and started packing for a weekend away. David followed me. don't you think this is dramatic? He asked. I zipped my bag slowly. What I think is that I've been in this house for 5 years and never felt like I belonged here for one day. She's just a teenager, she's a reflection of what you let her become. He looked stung, but I didn't care anymore. I won't beg for respect, David. I won't bribe my way into a family that doesn't want me. I slung the bag over my shoulder, walked past him, and out the front door without another word, and no one followed me, not even him. Tea took less than 48 hours. 48 hours for the fantasy to collapse. For the delusion to snap under the weight of reality. It started small. A call from David that I ignored. Then another. Then texts. David, can we talk? David, this is getting out of hand. David, I told Lily she was out of line. You didn't have to go this far. No, David. I didn't have to. But I finally did. I muted his number, then came his sister, Carol. Her name popped up on my screen while I was sipping tea on the cabin porch, legs curled up beneath me, wrapped in a blanket of rare silence. I let it ring. Voicemail. Hey Sammy, I just heard about the whole situation with Lily. Listen, she's just a kid. Kids say dumb stuff, you know? It's not fair to punish her by messing with her college plans. That's a whole future at stake, right? Because my dignity is worth less than Lily's tuition. Because it's not punishment when Lily calls me names, mocks my role in her life, and compares me to a woman who'd set me on fire if it meant staying warm. But when I draw a boundary, suddenly I'm the bad guy. Then came his mother. Sweet-faced, always judging, eternally two-faced Ellen. Sammy, sweetheart, I don't know what happened, but let's not be rash, okay? You've always been the more mature one. It's not like you to hold a grudge over a teenage outburst. Lily needs you. We all do. No, Ellen. You don't get to pull the "you're the mature one" card now. You weren't saying that when you stood there at Lily's birthday and pretended not to hear her call me a gold digger. You weren't saying that when you rolled your eyes every time I offered to help host family dinners. When you quietly undermined me to Melinda. When you said, Lily's still adjusting, as if 5 years wasn't enough time. It was never about maturity, it was always about expectation. I was expected to absorb the disrespect quietly. To rise above while everyone else sank deeper. To fund, forgive, and forget like it was a full-time job. Not anymore. And then, of course, like a final boss in a video game, came Melinda. She didn't call. She emailed, an actual, formal-sounding, carefully worded, patronizing as hell email. Dear Sammy, I understand tensions have been high lately, and emotions can cause us to make hasty decisions. While I recognize you may feel hurt by Lily's behavior, I think we both know it isn't appropriate to let personal feelings jeopardize her educational future. She's a bright girl. You always said you believed in her. Please, don't let this one moment undo all of that. I know you've been handling the financial side of things. But if you're unable or unwilling to continue, I'll have no choice but to explore other options, including legal ones. Sincerely, Melinda. I read it twice, then laughed. Out loud. Legal options? Is she serious? Was she going to sue me for not giving her daughter a free ride through college? Was she going to drag me into court and tell a judge that I reneged on an imaginary promise to fund the education of someone who thinks I'm a parasite? I forwarded the email to my attorney, just in case. Then I replied with one line, you're welcome to explore your options. I no longer fund households that insult me. Click. Send. Done. It wasn't long since the second wave of pestering started, not the texts. Not the voicemails. The guilt calls. Carol again. This time, with edge in her voice, you made your point, Sammy. But now it's time to act like a grown-up. Lily's whole future is on the line. Don't make this about pride. No, Carol, it was never about pride, it was about dignity. About finally realizing I had the right to expect something back in return for all the things I gave. It was about not paying tuition for a child who openly hated me while her father and her mother sat back and watched her tear me apart. It was about years of invisibility, now finally being seen, not by them, but by myself. I texted back, I gave for years. I was met with nothing but disdain. This is not punishment. This is freedom. David tried one last time that night, Sammy. I don't know what to do. She's devastated. She thought you loved her. That broke me a little. Not because it was true. But because he said it now that the money's gone. Now that the resource is unplugged. Now Lily's devastated. But where was that sentiment when I sat alone in our bedroom crying after being mocked in front of a room full of people? Where was that urgency when I begged him, repeatedly, to defend me? Where was it when I scraped together savings from side gigs to give his daughter the future her mother couldn't? I didn't reply. That night, I slept the best I had in months. Maybe years, no tension in my shoulders. No checking my phone with dread. No walking on eggshells in my own home. For the first time, the silence wasn't hostile, it was healing. Let them scramble, let them face the truth they'd buried under years of entitlement. Let them figure out their own solutions, their own budgets, their own plans. Let them handle it. Because I'm finally done, and being done, I've learned, isn't failure, it's survival, it's peace. I knew it was only a matter of time before Ellen came knocking. David's mother, self-appointed matriarch of manners and manipulation, and right on cue, as if the family held a meeting and said, send in the big guns, she showed up at the cabin rental the next morning. Unannounced, of course. She never did learn the difference between tradition and trespassing. I opened the door and stared at her over the steam of my morning coffee. She stood there in her pearls and practiced pity, holding a basket of muffins like she thought this was a damn Hallmark movie. Sammy, she said, with that sad smile that always meant war was coming. May I come in? I stepped aside. Mostly out of curiosity. I wanted to see what version of guilt trip bingo she was going to play. She sat on the couch like it was her living room, smoothing out her beige skirt, glancing around with polite judgment. I let her. Let her soak in the quiet, the lack of tension. The peace that hadn't existed in her son's house for years. Nice place, she said. Very humble. There it was. The first passive-aggressive jab of the morning. I sat down across from her and took a sip of coffee. What do you want, Ellen? She blinked at the bluntness. That wasn't the Sammy she remembered, the one who used to host her, cook for her, smile through condescension and whispered comparisons to Melinda. She cleared her throat. I came to talk about Lily. Of course you did. She's distraught, Sammy. She feels abandoned. Betrayed. She should have thought of that before she opened her mouth and disrespected me in my own home. She's just a teenager. She's 17, I snapped. Old enough to know what the word gold digger means. Old enough to weaponize it in front of a room full of people. And old enough to face the consequences. Ellen's face tightened. She was losing her grip already. She didn't mean it. She meant it, I said. She meant every word. You should have heard her. She didn't say it like it slipped out. She said it like she believed it. Like she'd been taught to believe it. Ellen's mouth opened, then closed. She adjusted her posture, shifted gears. You know, when you married David, you said you wanted to be part of this family. You said Lily was like your own. I did. And I treated her like my own. I funded her, fed her, drove her around. Stayed up with her during panic attacks, defended her when her mother didn't show up. And in return, I was mocked, insulted, ignored, and treated like I didn't belong. You don't get to just walk away from a child. Funny, I said, voice sharpening. Because you all were perfectly fine walking away from me, every time she belittled me and David said nothing. Every time you let Melinda talk down to me. Every time I stood alone at the family dinner table like some outsider who accidentally wandered in. She set the muffin basket down with a loud sigh. You're being emotional. I'm being clear. I raised David to take care of his family. And now you're teaching Lily that when people make mistakes, they're disposable? I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, coffee in hand. I'm teaching Lily that respect is a two-way street. I'm teaching her that actions have consequences. And I'm teaching myself that I don't owe anyone financial support just because they share a last name. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me, because she didn't. This wasn't the soft-spoken woman who once let this family walk all over her. This was a woman who finally stopped bleeding herself dry for people who wouldn't even hand her a tissue. Ellen straightened her spine. What will people think, Sammy? What will colleges think when they find out her stepmother pulled the funding last minute? That's your problem. Not mine. She needs you. No, she needs a wake-up call. And she's getting one. A long silence stretched between us. Finally, Ellen stood up. Her pearls trembled slightly as she adjusted her purse strap. You've changed. No. I just stopped pretending you people deserved me. And with that, I opened the front door. She walked out without another word, but not before turning back with a look of genuine confusion. Like she couldn't believe the woman she used to guilt into washing dishes after every family event had finally grown a backbone, but I had. And now? They'd have to live with the version of me they created. Had been 3 weeks since I canceled the tuition. 3 weeks since I walked out. 3 weeks since I stopped answering his calls. David had always been the kind of man who let chaos pass over him like a breeze. He'd duck his head, mumble something about timing or being caught in the middle, and wait for the storm to pass. But this time, the storm had a name, Sammy, and I wasn't passing anymore. I was gone. He tried to wait me out, like he always did. He assumed I'd cool off, come back, apologize for being too emotional. He didn't understand that when I walked away this time, I didn't just take my keys. I took my heart, my peace, my damn self-respect. He finally cracked on a Thursday. The text was longer than usual. No emojis. No passive-aggressive guilt. Just raw, David, I messed up. I know I should have stood up for you. I should have said something the minute she called you that. I should have backed you every single time. Everything's falling apart now. Lily's not speaking to me unless I agree to find her another way to pay. Melinda won't help, and my mom's furious you won't listen to her. The house feels empty without you. It's cold. Quiet. Everything you took care of, I'm just now realizing how much it was. I never thought you'd actually leave. I never thought you'd actually be done, but I get it. I just don't know what to do anymore. I stared at the screen for a long moment. It almost got to me, almost. But the image of his silence, standing beside Lily while she spat venom at me, was burned too deeply in my memory. I didn't respond. Instead, I went for a walk. Through a nearby trail, sun slipping through trees, air fresh in my lungs for the first time in years. It was the kind of space I never had in that house. That life. Always so full of tension, expectations, responsibility. But never appreciation. I wasn't going back. I knew that now, but I also knew David needed to hear it. So the next morning, I called him. He picked up on the first ring. Sammy? I read your message. Silence, David, I said calmly. You didn't just lose a tuition check. You lost a person. I know. You stood beside your daughter while she humiliated me. And you let your mother and Melinda twist the knife for years. You watched me pour into everyone without once pouring anything back. I was trying to keep the peace. No, David. You were trying to stay comfortable. He sighed. You're right. I see that now. Then see this too, I'm not coming back. What about Lily? What about her? I said. She's your child. Melinda's child. You two created her, raised her, taught her how to treat people. Now you get to teach her what happens when you burn bridges. I don't know how to fix this. You don't, I said softly. Because it's not about fixing me. It's about fixing yourself. He cried. I wasn't ready for that. David didn't cry often. But the tears came, quiet, broken, almost childlike. I really thought I was doing my best, he said. Maybe you were. But your best still left me feeling unloved. And I finally love myself enough to stop settling for that. I ended the call with no promises. No hints of reconciliation. Just closure. A quiet, final full stop on a chapter that had gone on for too long. That evening, I curled up on the couch of my little cabin with a cup of tea and my laptop. I started mapping out something I hadn't dared dream of before. A new home, a new city, a life where I didn't exist as an afterthought. I was no longer someone's second wife. No longer someone's wallet, no longer someone's emotional punching bag. I was Sammy, and for the first time in years that was enough. I didn't need to be in the house to feel the ripple effect of my departure. I could hear it in the strained voices during calls I ignored. I saw it in the half-formed apologies left unread in my inbox. And eventually, I heard it from an unlikely source, David's cousin, Mara, who'd always been civil to me, even when the rest weren't. She messaged me one evening, I don't want to stir the pot. But Lily's not doing well. You might want to know. I didn't want to know, truthfully, but I clicked anyway, and what I read, a bitter cocktail of karma, immaturity, and delayed consequences. Lily had applied to 4 colleges. 3 of them were private, expensive, out-of-state dreams. She'd been banking on me to fund them, not her father, who barely had any savings. Not Melinda, who constantly cried broke and forgot to pay for basic things. Me, because for 5 years, I was the quiet, dependable woman who always said yes. Until I didn't. She got into 2 schools. And when it came time to confirm enrollment, pay deposits, and arrange housing, the money wasn't there. David scrambled. Took out a small loan to hold her place at one school, but it didn't cover tuition. Not even half. Melinda promised to help, then ghosted the paperwork. And Lily, she threw a tantrum. According to Mara, she screamed at David in front of extended family. Told him he was useless. That she should have been adopted by someone richer. Said it was his fault her life was being ruined. Then, she locked herself in her room for 3 days. There was no grace, no humility, no maybe I brought this on myself. Just entitlement, and rage at the world for not handing her what she thought was hers by default. Mara added this gem at the end, honestly, I think she thought you were bluffing. She didn't believe you'd actually walk away. That part made me smile, because for once, Lily was learning something I had learned the hard way. Actions have consequences. Later that week, I got another update. Lily was now enrolled at a local community college, furious, embarrassed, and blaming everyone but herself. She didn't want to tell her friends. Didn't want to be seen in town. Said she deserved better. Still too proud to acknowledge her role in it all, and for once, nobody rushed in to fix it. Melinda was radio silent. David was too deep in debt to offer more help. And I was far enough away that I couldn't even hear the whining. Poetic, isn't it, the girl who called me a gold digger? Now crying about not having gold. I didn't feel sorry for her, not yet, because she never once apologized. Not to me. Not publicly. Not even to her father for putting him in the middle, but part of me hoped, deep down, that this would be her first real taste of growth, that maybe sitting in a classroom she didn't want, wearing her shame like a second skin, might finally force her to reflect. Would she? I didn't know, but I did know this, it's not my job to wait and find out.